Hey ladies, my name is Kelly Bullock, and this is one of my dearest friends and partners in ministry, Tabitha Gilliland.
Hey.
And so we just wanted to welcome you and let you know that we are so excited about this series. Today's really just going to kind of be an overview. We want you to know a little bit more about us personally, and then the Disciple Makers Ministry, and for sure what you're getting yourself into. So we're glad you are here.
Now, we know that you ladies are all watching from different places. The first group is watching from our local discipleship ministry, which we have endearingly named Minivan Mayhem. We call it that because the group is targeted mainly to young moms, so most of us are either moms, want to be moms one day, or have been young moms and want to help another sweet gal who is in the midst of that mayhem. It will not surprise you that as a result, we have in that parking lot on those days that Minivan Mayhem meets, a lot of minivans, even though having a minivan is not required. And we have a lot of mayhem, which is also not required, but certainly a product of life with all those little people that we have. Our second group of participants are doing this more as just kind of a one-on-one or one-on-a-few discipleship model, and we love that.
Yeah.
We welcome you. You are one of the main reasons we did this filming, and so we are cheering for you and praying for you. And then the third group that we are praying this will bless is other groups or churches who are doing this in a similar group setting as our local Minivan Mayhem group. Perhaps maybe an interdenominational ladies group or in a local church. We welcome you as well, and we certainly pray that you girls have a blast together.
Yes, Tabitha and I are really going to be doing most of the teachings, and I personally kind of like to know or learn a little bit about who I'm going to be learning from. And so we want to give you just a few basics about ourselves today, just a few details to get to know us, and we'll share more of our stories as we go. But I'll go first. I grew up in the South, and so I know that you're not shocked by that. I know that you could probably already tell that, but I grew up here in Middle Tennessee, and I got saved at a really young age. You know, in the South, we make jokes sometimes about being the Bible Belt, and that was really my story. I got taken to church since I was a little girl, and I just miraculously heard the gospel message and just said, yes, I'm a sinner in need of a Savior. But the thing was, I was definitely not discipled. I didn't have others around me that really knew how to walk with Christ and how to study the scriptures and all those things. And so I was graciously saved, but I didn't have that tangible act of discipleship. And so then the next part of my story, we're going to say from the age of about 13 to about 23, we'll just call those the sin years. And we'll just leave it at that, and that there's no need to go in more detail other than just not a pretty time in my life. But Philippians 1:6 tells us that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. And by God's great grace, at 23 years old, I met a precious couple that really discipled me. They really just pulled me out of a pit of sin. They taught me how to study the Word. They held me accountable. And then here I am 11 years later, and really Tabitha and I have the same desire that you would experience that kind of discipleship, that kind of life change.
Well, like Kelly, I also grew up in the South, but I think that's really where the similarities in our stories end, at least until the present day when we are both serving the Lord and have such a heart for women like you and discipleship. I have a pair of godly, wonderful parents who showed me with their lives day in, day out, what it looks like to walk with and trust Jesus. And, honestly, I cannot even think of them without gratitude just welling up in my heart. But if your story is like mine, you know that still, even having a godly environment to grow up in, you have seasons when you walked closely with the Lord and made your parents' faith your own. And then you have those sad seasons when you kind of turned your back, maybe just briefly, even on that legacy of faith to one degree or another. And, I can just say it is by the faithfulness of God that He pulled me out of those seasons. So I went to a Christian college. That was wonderful. I later married a godly man and was very involved in a wonderful church. But despite all that, I just really was not choosing to fulfill Jesus' call to make disciples by strategically teaching others what I had been so graciously taught. So in 2011, Kelly, my girlfriend, asked me to make a logo for this discipleship group she was starting called Minivan Mayhem. She also invited me to join the group, and while I was seriously considering it, I was such a new mom that I thought I would have some spare time. And I actually intended to sew some curtains and scrapbook, all while teaching a couple classes at the university in our town and being a mom and wife. Well, I decided to go ahead and join Kelly's little group, and I can still just close my eyes and picture that first day of Minivan Mayhem, listening to Kelly teach about discipleship. My friend and I sat next to each other. I mean, just nodding our little heads off, just nodding. She would say a new sentence and we would just nod in agreement with what she was teaching us, because despite the strains of discipleship that kind of had been part of our Christian walks, this was what we had been missing.
Yes.
So today, I'm not only honored to teach you a little bit in this journey, but walk beside you in it, since I am also going to be discipling using these videos on the Disciple Makers app. And I want to encourage you with a quick verse the Lord gave me recently. It's 1 Thessalonians 2:8. It says, "Having so fond an affection for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become very dear to us." As disciples and disciple makers, girls, I want to encourage you to share not just the life-changing gospel with one another, but also your very lives. Open your hearts to love one another and live life together as you walk out this gospel.
Yes, that is wonderful. And so Tabitha, you have two sweet boys right now as we do the filming, and I have three sweet children. Tell us how old your boys are.
Houston is 3.5 and Elias is 15 months.
Yes, and she has a wonderful husband, Eric. And then I have a wonderful husband, Jeremy, who you will get to hear more about our husbands. And
Sorry.
and our children. And I have three sweet children, Cross, who is 6 at this current time, and Mercy, who is almost 6 in just a week. And then sweet little Cord, who is 1.5. So we are very blessed. Very blessed, and our lives are very full, and God has been so good to us, even with our different backgrounds. He has been so faithful. So in a nutshell, that's really who we are. We're just ordinary gals chasing an extraordinary God. Now that you've heard our stories, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Disciple Makers and just the ministry that has been birthed out of this. So basically, Tabitha, did you want to tell, or you want me to tell about it? Okay. Basically, we started Minivan Mayhem, as she said, and just saw so much fruit. We just saw ladies' lives being changed, and just marriages being completely healed and restored, and husbands being saved, and just all this wonderful fruit. And we really felt like that was going to be the case, but it was so neat to tangibly see it. But really, after that, we just had a burden that this had to go further than this local group. It really had to go further. And so that's how the ministry started. Basically, we decided, instead of just discipling a few interdenominational women in our local town, that we wanted to do everything in our power to reach individuals and churches, and especially we also have a heart for nonprofits, Christian nonprofits, and teach them and equip them on how to make disciples. So in a few minutes, we're going to have Tabitha go over the commitment. And then next week, I'm going to give you an overview of the curriculum and we'll start the teaching. So Tabitha, do you want to share with them a little bit more about the commitment?
Go ahead and pull out your commitment and let's read through it a little bit together. I'll highlight some certain things as we go through it. Let's get started. It says, I am committing to the discipleship process for a specific time period. So you and your disciple maker, you guys will talk about how long that is going to be. If you're in Minivan Mayhem, that time period is likely to be fall and spring. But if you are starting this in the spring, it might be spring and fall, or you guys might go straight through the summer, whatever works for you. That commitment includes the following. I am committing to my disciple maker. I recognize that God may use my relationship with her to do a great work in my life, and I will honor her commitment by being available for communication with her in between our in-person meetings. I will initiate interaction with her because I know that I can grow by living life with her. Now, I want to make a few comments before we continue reading. You have to realize, friends, that no matter how great your disciple maker is, if you are being difficult to disciple, she cannot disciple you. I say that in love, but don't make yourself difficult to reach. Chase your disciple maker. She should not have to chase you.
Yes, that's a great point.
Yeah. Also, be teachable. If she gives you a suggestion or admonishes you to try something a little bit different, don't immediately just become defensive and think that she's criticizing you. None of us is perfect. We all need to be changed and transformed. As long as what she says lines up with the Bible, take what she says and do it. Kelly brought up a good point the other day. Our society teaches us to grow up and be totally independent. Don't need anyone. But Christ teaches us to find a godly, wise person, or maybe more than one, and chase that person to give us wisdom and guidance in our lives. Society has it backwards, and if you're like me, so many times in your life, you have had it backwards as well. Going back to the commitment, it continues, I will love and encourage any fellow disciples. I am aware that anything said within my small group is confidential and will never share someone's story. Another comment worth mentioning here is that our local group has a no drama policy. We got the idea, we were meeting with a business owner, and he told us that if an employee comes into his office with drama to talk to him about, that person walks out of his office without a job. Drama makes for a terrible working environment. It makes for a terrible environment in your discipleship small group, or even just in the relationship between you and your disciple maker. So a no drama policy is good to implement, whether you are in a small group or just being discipled one-on-one. So let's think about how that could play out in relationships. If someone hurts your feelings, don't go tell somebody else about it, or post something in social networking, just kind of passive aggressive about this issue. Just go to that person and work it out. Or maybe get your disciple maker to come with you and help you talk to that person about it. So no drama. Are we clear?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that'll be very valuable for your experience if you follow that. That's a good point.
Yeah. I am committing to faithful attendance, it says. I will be at every single meeting unless an emergency arises or something unavoidable interferes with my schedule. I will make all personal plans around this time. I will guard it, knowing that Satan will not want me to carry out this training, yet that Christ will most certainly give me the power to do so. Now, I want to mention to you something that I'm going to say totally in love, but this is not the group that, it's great if you can come and great if you get your homework done, but it's just fine if you skip 1 week or just forget about your homework. This is not that group. We have an expectation of you, and sure, we're going to have grace, and your disciple maker will have grace for you if you had a horrible week and couldn't do your homework. But attendance and homework are a very big deal, and this commitment to do those things is vital to the discipleship process. If you do not attend faithfully, you will be lovingly asked to step down by your disciple maker. So don't schedule hair appointments, baby well checks, anything flexible during this time. If your child needs major surgery, okay, your disciple maker will understand that. But if you just can't stand your roots, just get them fixed another day. We understand that. She actually went to get hers done yesterday. If you miss your meeting, your disciple maker is going to ask you what was going on, and she will ask you to make up your homework and let her know when you've completed it.
Yes.
The last one that we're going to talk about today is I am committing to be real. It says, I will be authentic, honest, and open. I will not smile and say things are fine when my life is falling apart in reality. I will lay down my pride for the sake of being encouraged and whole. Now, I'll tell you that in my first small group in 2011, that first year that Minivan Mayhem was going on, the first day that we met as a small group, there were some girls going through some really difficult challenges in their lives, and they were so honest from that very first day. Not everyone knew each other. Some of us had never seen each other before, but girls were very honest, and that set the tone for the rest of the year. We were such a close, small group, and nobody felt like she had to have this perfect persona in front of everyone. We could just be real with each other, and I want to encourage you to have that same just attitude with your group and your disciple maker. Now, you see there's another segment on this commitment, but we're going to save that because Kelly is going to teach about that in her next message on discipleship and multiplication. And then after she's talked about this portion with you, you're going to be asked to sign the commitment. So don't feel pressured to sign yet. Just wait a week, and then you'll find out some more information.
Yes, this is one of the most valuable parts of our process, really is the commitment, because we really believe that if you take this seriously, then you will get the most blessing out of it. It's one of those, how much you put into it depends on how much you get out of it, and we want you to be solely committed to it, and we want you to be informed before you sign. So really, just in a nutshell, God has just used this entire concept of discipleship that we will go into a lot of detail next week to really transform our lives. And so this group is going to be different probably than what you've been used to, but we think that different will be good. So it's going to be messy, and it's going to be difficult, but I think it'll definitely pay off. So we will be praying for you. We will be back with you next week, and we just thank you for joining us on this journey, and a journey that we really pray will just be used to change the world.